The air tastes different when you're alone at sea. Not salty, not exactly metallic, cold, like the ocean is hiding something beneath its skin. Imagine standing on the deck of a small boat hundreds of miles from shore. The fog hangs low over the water. The engine has been cut. Everything is silent except for the slow slap of waves against the hull. Then the birds stop calling, and for reasons you can't explain, every instinct in your body begins screaming. Something is watching, not from the sky, not from the shore, from below. Human beings fear what they cannot see. It's why dark hallways unsettle us, why deep water feels wrong. Our minds understand something ancient that modern life has tried to bury. The things we cannot see can still see us. Beneath the surface of the world's oceans lives an animal that has spent millions of years perfecting that advantage. The orca, a predator so successful that it has no natural enemies. A hunter capable of killing seals, sharks, dolphins, whales, and almost anything else that shares its environment. An animal that doesn't simply overpower prey, it outthinks it. And that's where the story becomes unsettling, because strength is predictable, intelligence isn't. For decades, many people imagined orcas as oversized dolphins, friendly, curious, playful, the smiling stars of marine parks and wildlife calendars. But spend enough time studying them and another picture emerges, a darker one. Orcas don't just hunt, they plan. Scientists have documented populations with unique cultures passed from generation to generation. Entire hunting techniques exist only within specific family groups. Knowledge is inherited. Strategies are taught. Mistakes are corrected. Think about that for a moment. What if the deadliest predator in your environment could also hold traditions? An adult male orca can exceed 26 feet in length and weigh over 6 tons. Yet raw size tells only part of the story. Its body is a masterpiece of evolutionary engineering. Every contour reduces drag. Every muscle contributes to explosive acceleration. Beneath the skin lies a dense layer of blubber that insulates against freezing water while storing enormous reserves of energy. The tail is the real engine. With a single powerful stroke, an orca can surge forward with terrifying speed. Water erupts behind it as thousands of pounds of muscle convert stored energy into motion. And unlike many predators, the orca rarely hunts alone. Imagine wolves. Now place them in an environment where movement is three-dimensional, above, below, around. That is the advantage of an orca pod. One of the most chilling hunting strategies occurs near ice floes in Antarctica. A seal rests on a floating slab of ice, seemingly safe. The ocean below appears calm. Then several orcas approach, not directly, carefully, deliberately, working together. Each animal positions itself with extraordinary precision. Then, almost simultaneously, they accelerate. The water rises. A manufactured wave crashes over the ice. The seal loses footing. For a split second, gravity takes over. Then the ocean swallows it. Researchers call this wave washing. The rest of us might call it engineering, because that's exactly what it is. The orcas understand cause and effect. They know how water behaves. They coordinate timing. They execute the plan together. Predators aren't supposed to do that, at least not at this level. Now here's a question. What happens when intelligence itself becomes a hunting weapon? Scientists studying great white sharks off the coast of South Africa began noticing something strange. Sharks were disappearing. Not one or two. Entire areas were suddenly empty. Then the evidence surfaced. Literally, several great white sharks washed ashore. Their bodies showed signs of highly targeted attacks. In some cases, the liver had been removed with astonishing precision. The culprit was eventually identified. Orcas, not merely killing the sharks, specializing in them, learning where to strike, learning what organs contain the richest energy reserves, learning how to do it more efficiently. The ocean's most famous predator had become prey. But hunting isn't what truly separates orcas from other apex predators. It's memory, it's communication, it's culture. Different groups of orcas around the world behave so differently that scientists often compare them to separate societies. Some specialize in fish, others hunt marine mammals. Some travel in large family units that remain together for life. Others roam across vast stretches of ocean. What's remarkable is that these differences are not driven purely by genetics. They're learned, passed from mothers to calves, shared across generations. Imagine a human community preserving traditions for centuries. Now imagine that community exists beneath the waves. That's what makes the orca so difficult to understand. Because every year, evidence accumulates suggesting that these animals possess a level of social complexity once believed unique to humans. And that's where the story takes a turn. Because intelligence doesn't always lead to kindness. Sometimes it creates efficiency, sometimes it creates strategy, and sometimes it creates mysteries. In 1972, surfer Hans Kretschmer found himself surrounded by multiple orcas near the California coast. Massive dorsal fins circled through the water. The animals approached closely enough for him to appreciate their enormous size. He was completely vulnerable. A single strike could have ended everything, but it never came. The Orcas simply observed him, then moved on. Years later, the encounter remained burned into his memory, not because he had survived an attack, because he realized the attack had been an option. That realization is difficult to shake. The difference between inability and choice is enormous, and when dealing with a predator this powerful, it becomes even more unsettling. What if the reason wild orcas rarely attack humans isn't because they can't? What if it's because they choose not to? No one knows the answer, but the question refuses to disappear. The more researchers study wild populations, the more they discover evidence of sophisticated decision-making. Orcas communicate through clicks, whistles, and pulsed calls. Yet these sounds are not random. Pods possess unique dialects. Distinct vocal signatures pass through family lines. Scientists can identify groups simply by listening. Think about that. Entire communities speaking different acoustic languages beneath the ocean's surface. The implications are staggering. Language allows information to survive, knowledge accumulates, lessons endure, and suddenly, hunting becomes more than instinct. It becomes education. A young calf doesn't need to discover every survival technique on its own. It learns from generations that came before. That may be one of the most powerful advantages in the natural world. Not sharper teeth, not greater strength, shared knowledge. Then came an incident that forced the world to confront a darker side of the Orca story. In 2010, experienced trainer Dawn Brancho was killed by the captive orca known as Tilikum. The event shocked millions. News coverage spread across the globe. Questions emerged immediately. What happened? Why did it happen? Could it have been prevented? The tragedy became a focal point for a much larger debate about keeping highly intelligent apex predators in confined environments. Because the more scientists learned about orcas, the harder it became to ignore a troubling reality. These animals evolved to travel immense distances, to live within complex social structures, to communicate constantly, to navigate entire oceans. Captivity compressed that world into a fraction of its natural scale, and no one fully understood the consequences. What happened with Tilikum remains one of the most discussed incidents in marine animal history. But perhaps the most important lesson wasn't about aggression. It was about intelligence. The event forced people to reconsider what kind of animal they were truly dealing with. Not a giant dolphin, not a living theme park attraction. Something far more complicated, far more powerful, far more aware. Then another mystery began unfolding in recent years. Along parts of the Atlantic coast near Europe, reports emerged of orcas repeatedly interacting with boats, not attacking people, not hunting humans, targeting rudders, approaching vessels, damaging steering systems. Researchers scrambled to understand the behavior. Was it curiosity, play, learned behavior spreading through populations? No definitive answer emerged, yet the pattern itself fascinated scientists. Because once again, the orcas appeared to be doing something unexpected, something adaptive, something difficult to predict. And unpredictability is what makes intelligent predators so fascinating. A lion behaves largely like other lions. A shark behaves largely like other sharks. But orcas innovate, they experiment, they learn. And when an animal learns, the future becomes harder to anticipate. Some researchers have even documented orcas using coordinated tactics so advanced they resemble military maneuvers. Pods spread out. Individuals assume specific roles. Some drive prey. Others intercept escape routes. Others wait patient, silent, ready. It's not chaos, it's organization, and organization multiplies power. Imagine being a seal resting on a piece of drifting ice. The ocean appears empty. Nothing moves. Nothing threatens you. Then, without warning, a wave erupts beneath your feet. You fall. And only afterward do you realize the wave wasn't natural. It was manufactured, created intentionally, by minds working together. That's not merely hunting. That's problem solving. And perhaps that's what makes the orca so haunting. The realization that beneath those black and white markings exists a mind capable of adaptation on a remarkable scale. A mind shaped by millions of years in an environment humans still barely understand. Because despite satellites, submarines, and modern technology, much of the ocean remains unexplored, dark, silent, hidden, and somewhere in that darkness, pods of orcas move through underwater landscapes we have never seen, communicating, teaching, learning, passing knowledge from one generation to the next. The ocean often feels empty when viewed from above, a vast blue wilderness stretching beyond the horizon. But that emptiness is an illusion. The deeper you look, the more life emerges. And near the top of that hidden world swims an animal unlike almost any other. Not simply because it is strong, not simply because it is intelligent, but because it combines both. Power guided by understanding, speed guided by strategy, instinct refined through culture. Perhaps that is why the orca continues to capture our imagination. It forces us to confront a possibility we rarely consider, that humanity may not be the only species to develop something resembling civilization, different from ours, alien even, yet built upon many of the same foundations: family, communication, memory, teaching, tradition. Out there tonight, somewhere beyond the horizon, a pod is moving through black water. They are speaking in sounds we cannot fully translate, passing knowledge we cannot completely interpret, navigating a world hidden beneath the waves. And while we stare into the darkness wondering what lives below, they may be doing something equally remarkable. They may be observing us. We have been wrong about orcas, not because they are monsters, and not because they are gentle giants. Both descriptions miss the truth. The truth is far stranger. Somewhere beneath the ocean surface lives a predator intelligent enough to create traditions, teach strategies, adapt to changing environments, and reshape entire ecosystems. A creature that has mastered not only survival but learning itself. And every time a black dorsal fin slices through a silent sea, it serves as a reminder. The ocean is not empty. It never was. It is inhabited by minds, ancient minds, powerful minds, minds that evolved in darkness long before our first ships touched the water. And if there is one final warning hidden within the story of the orca, it is this: the greatest danger in nature is not the predator you understand. It's the one that's still teaching itself new ways to survive. While we watch from the surface, convinced we are studying it, the orca continues moving through the depths, carrying secrets older than nations, older than history, older than memory itself, silent, watching, learning, and waiting beneath the waves.